This is Rooted Recovery Stories. So excited and glad to be back. My name's Patrick Custer. I'm your host. I'm even more excited to have my guest here today with me, the one and only Mike Rossi.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. We're coming to you from Music Row. This one's been in Los Angeles or California, all over the place for the past few weeks. Yeah. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, man. It's good to be back. It's good to be home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you call Nashville home.
Now that Nashville is home.
Right.
Correct. Well, I always say too, like, I'm originally from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised in North Carolina. Moved to LA for 15 years and then.
LA's so loud though. I knew that about you and I never remembered until recently when we were talking about the North Carolina piece.
Yeah.
You know, like I just remember that like Mike came from LA.
Yeah.
And so gosh, where to start with your story? Let's start with North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to go chronological.
Okay.
But there's so much there. Before LA happened, what was your family dynamic history?
Yeah, man. So I come from a small town in North Carolina, just outside of Winston-Salem. It's called Clemmons, North Carolina.
When you say small, how small?
Well, when I was growing up, we all kind of knew each other small.
Okay.
Like everybody kind of in the neighborhoods, different neighborhoods, you knew where everybody was. But now it's kind of grown since I've been back.
Okay.
But, everybody went to the same high school, same kind of preschool, so forth and so on. And it was a great place to grow up, man. I was raised by a single mother. It was actually, my mom's from Brooklyn, New York. So they made the move and then had me, and I was a little surprised.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Were you the only child?
No, I have two older sisters.
Okay.
Yeah. Allison and Kristen. And Lucille. Lucille's my mom. She goes by Lucy now.
Nice.
Yeah. She's from Brooklyn,
Do you love Lucy?
I love Lucy, yeah. Yeah, I love Lucy.
Yeah.
I mean, where to begin, dude? I had a good childhood, my mom did the best she could. She had to work 3 jobs sometimes at a time. Our cars broke down a lot. We didn't have a lot of money, but we always had what we needed, and with that I guess I should start. I went to Catholic school. I think you didn't go to Catholic school, but
I was homeschooled my whole life.
Oh, you were? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know which one is worse.
I don't either.
Oh, so what was that like?
Yeah. Catholic school?
Yeah.
It was, so I went into the inner city for Catholic school.
Okay.
In Winston-Salem. It was a small Catholic school where my mom.
So it's pretty much like
worked.
Sister Act.
Yeah, just like Sister Act. Yeah.
I'm jealous. You had it better than me.
Yeah, I probably did, dude. Yeah. Honestly, it was an interesting experience. Looking back on it now, there was only one grade for each class, so all the same kids, all like 22 kids. Mm-hmm. Like I was in the same kindergarten class, same first grade class with all the same kids.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know that it was.
Oh, yeah, I could see it be a good thing, bad thing.
Yeah, I think maybe when you're little, because it's familiar, maybe.
Right.
But then once you get older, there's like not a lot of diversity. There's not a lot of different people in different walks of life. Some of my teachers were nuns, and some of them were wild.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I remember this one, Sister Jerry was her name. And this was in 6th grade. And there was this kid, and his name was Steve Smith. And he was, he's a kid. He's talking a lot. And she got so mad one day. I'll never forget this. And maybe it's not going to be as funny to me as it is. But she grabbed his face, and she shook it like this. And I just remember his little cheeks going back and forth. And she scared the bejesus out of him, man. But that's kind of how it was with Sister Jerry, anyway. And then there was this principal, and she was Scottish. And her name was Mrs. McMonigal. And every morning she'd come out and we'd all be like on the pavement where we got ready for class, and we'd all kind of line up, and she'd come out and she'd ring this fucking bell, ding, 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 ding. And she'd go, "Good morning, everyone." And everybody would go, "Good morning, Mrs. McMonagle." Nice. We'd go to class, dude. Yeah. There's little like, we used to make fun of it, man, and just have a good time. And, but I remember, and I feel like this is a lot of people's experience, just in being Catholic or being in Catholic school, like how much fear there was. And I was always like really kind of scared of God and scared of the teacher. Mrs. McMonagle used to wear these heels, right? And I'd be sitting in class, and all of a sudden you hear the heels coming. And everybody would be like, "Oh shit, dude, she's coming for me, bro. She's coming for me." And that anxiety, that happened a lot. And I think more for me, because I was a pretty anxious kid.
Really?
Yeah. But we had fun too, you know? I mean, I'd have to go to daycare every day because my mom worked across the street. So my mom worked for the priests as well. So she'd work at the school as a secretary. I would go to school all day, and then I'd go to aftercare with Mrs. Bourne. And Mrs. Bourne was Irish lady. She was great. But I'd stay until, like, I was like the last kid. And then I'd run across the street where all the priests lived, and my mom would she was like clean up for them, cook for them, get their groceries, kind of keep them organized. And I'd go over there and like do homework or run around outside and play. And so I was like, grew up around all these priests. And, you know, some good memories there. Father Kurt took me to my first PG-13 movie, which was Jurassic Park.
Nice.
Father Edgar and I used to sit on the couch and watch the Andy Griffith Show. And my mom actually recently just told me that we would both have orange juice with cherries in it.
Ooh.
The maraschino cherry. It was good. The maraschino cherry.
Terrible.
Father Edgar had bourbon in his, which I didn't know the whole time. You know, so we'd sit there and watch Andy Griffith and
orange juice with cherries.
Yeah, like, you know, the red, like the grenadine cherries.
Yes, that doesn't make it any better when you say it like that.
That's so good, dude.
No.
It's like a little sweetness to it. You never had that in your cocktail, a little grenadine?
Maybe,
sure
and I didn't. I don't know. Mine was made more of liquor than mixers. So
just straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it was gross.
I used to do that too, dude.
Yeah. So what was it spiritually like? What, you had a good relationship with God, or would you say that it was, because I know with a lot of Catholics, you know, there's a different tone there sometimes when you mention fear.
It's kind of like a fear-based kind of thing. Like he's going to smite you, or, you know, strike you with lightning or whatever people believe. I would always talk to God. But then I would also be really scared if I did something wrong.
Sure.
You know, and think that I was like going to hell.
Yeah.
It was very like, what's the word? It was very just exaggerated.
Right.
You know?
Well, yeah, because in that denomination, there's a lot of, I mean, it's like very works based. So like you do something wrong and you have the potential to lose your.
Right. Or you have to go and talk to a priest to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be terrifying.
It was terrifying. So on Fridays we used to do, you know, confession every Friday. We go to church and then we do confession. And, I remember waiting in line and being like, what did I do? And like having to come up, well, I guess I'll say I lied, and, you know, I like trying to come up with something to tell.
What happens if I've never thought to ask a Catholic this, like what happens when you're supposed to go to confession? You go, but you can't think of anything. You just sit there and you say. You
just muster stuff up, I guess. I mean, we're all sinners, right? There's something that we've all done, I guess, that's wrong. But when you're in third grade, you're like, well, you know, I wrote on the back of the dumpster with rocks and carved my name.
Yeah.
What is that a sin? I don't know. Right? Yeah. You know. So I think what happened was, it was Friday church, Saturday church, Catholic school, all this church, and God. And I think once I was like able to not go to church, I did exactly that.
When was that? How old were you?
Probably when I graduated high school, maybe 17 or 18, I moved to Wilmington, North Carolina, and went to school for a year at the beach.
Oh.
Yeah. Didn't go to school.
Right. No, I get it. It made me think of, have you seen the Barbie movie yet? Oh, never mind. It's referenceable.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's good. They joke about how Ken's job, he's like, my job is to beach.
Yeah.
So I was going to make a joke about how that was your job.
Yeah, that was me. My job was to beach and drink and party, and I never had any money, and yeah.
Well, did you say that's where you started to cope on? Was it unhealthy at that point, or was it still just fun and you were being young?
I think when I look back now, it was definitely unhealthy. I remember getting pretty sick and not knowing why, like with my stomach, and then stopping, drinking for a while, and then getting better and being like, oh, maybe.
So you're having physical.
Doing it.
When did you start
drinking?
Yeah, was it before you went to Wilmington?
Oh yeah. We start. I mean, small town, open fields. One of my best friends, still my best friend, who's actually sober now. I'll tell you about that story later. But he lived on like 75 acres of land, and we would just go out on the land and pitch a tent and steal his brother's beer and start drinking. And then a lot of pot too.
Yeah.
Pot smoke was really a thing in high school, like a lot. I mean, dude, I don't know if I should say this.
Say it.
So we, for a summer job, was a lifeguard, right? And you had to go to lifeguard training.
Sure.
Right? So we went to the Y, but every morning before we would smoke. So like I didn't retain anything. And then on test day, still, stoned. I had to cheat. I had to cheat on the test. And I cheated off my buddies, and I passed, and I became a lifeguard.
That's scary. I'm sure,
yeah, dude.
I feel like nobody's ever done that before.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure somebody has, right? But we used to,
Yes. No, I mean, I'm just thinking about, the people. I was a lifeguard too. I feel like a lot of the people I lifeguarded with probably did the same,
oh yeah.
Did the same thing you did.
Oh yeah.
I hadn't gotten, if I had started my antics by that point, I would have as well, but I was still pure.
When did your antics begin?
Way late. Like I was almost 20, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was a late bloomer in many regards, but, yeah. So what did you have a vision of what it was that you wanted to do with your life, what you wanted to be, where you wanted to go at a young age? Yeah,
I did. I mean, I always loved the theater. I mean, in sixth grade, I did my first play. And I remember it's a play called The Phantom Toll Booth. Oh. And I was like a comic relief character called the Weatherman. Not the like weatherman, the weather or not man, right?
Oh, okay.
And I came out opening night or opening day. We did it in the gym at school. And the first line I delivered got a huge laugh. And the crowd was like, and I was like, oh my God. That was like my first kind of like, I need this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right after that, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I used to perform in my room. I was alone a lot. I used to perform in my room, music, Michael Jackson,
I can relate. Not the Michael Jackson part, but definitely performing. You keep going. You can do that.
All that stuff. And I loved it. And my mom used to take me to audition. Once she saw that I kind of really enjoyed it, her and I would go and audition for plays together, when she had time. Right then I knew. I was like, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. So as you were getting older and thinking about what you were going to do after high school, did you have a plan, or were you like, what was that How did Wilmington fit into that? Were you like, I'm just going to take a second and then go pursue my dreams, or?
Well, Wilmington, UNCW, which I wasn't a good student. I barely graduated. So I couldn't get in any schools. I get community college, right? And I could have gone to the community college in Winston-Salem, but dude, I was so ready to leave the nest. You know what I mean? And I did, and my mom let me, and it was a huge waste, dude. Like, she was dying trying to pay rent for me. Like, I didn't get a job, you know. I didn't step up in any way. I was not mature enough for that at all.
Yeah.
But we did it. I did it. And UNCW had a film school. So I thought maybe I could go to this Cape Fear Community College, get the credits I needed, and then transfer over.
But that did not happen.
Didn't, no, sir. That did not happen.
Okay, so what happened after that? What did happen?
Oh, man. Well, it was just one big blur of a year. Lots of partying, lots of unnecessary struggling. Tried to get a couple jobs, couldn't really keep them, or didn't really have interest in keeping them, you know. And then I moved back home after that year, and I got a job at a place called Tanglewood, which is a golf course, and I did like catering for that. And you know, that kind of multiplied the drinking too, because that's all we did. We used to take beer out of the beer fridge and kegs out of, you know. And I was there for a year, and just coming in late, my mom's house, and just, you know, just doing what we do.
Right.
And I was always kind of searching for myself on like how to be a man. I didn't know what that meant for me, or really for anyone else. And, you know, I think growing up without a father played a part in that for sure. My mom kind of had to play both roles, right? But she, you know, you need a man around to show a man how to be a man, I think, right? So I got a bright idea. And I was like, you know what'll teach me how to be a man and be disciplined and all the things I wanted to be, but didn't know how, was join the military. I joined the military.
You did?
No,
this was okay.
Idea, right? So I'm like, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll join the Marines. So I went and like took the test, did the whole thing. And my sister, Kristen, is the middle sister, lives in LA. And she's about 12 or 13 years older than me. So when I was a kid, I used to go out to LA too and visit her. And she would let me stay for like 2-3 weeks at a time. She worked on the Paramount lot.
Nice.
So as a kid, another reason I was like super interested in becoming, you know, getting into entertainment, I would run around the Paramount lot and go on all the sets, like the Frasier set when Frasier was still on, and like all these, like, I was like, oh my God, barbershop set. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I want to do this. And she knew that I was, you know, an entertainer, and she believed, you know, that I was talented, and she called me up crying. She was like, you know, you can't do that. You can't join the military. You have to at least try to follow your dream. She was like, come out here for a year. She's like, you can stay with me. You know, you can have a few months to get on your feet, find your job, please. And I was like, okay. So that's what I did. I flew out to Los Angeles when I was 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
You stayed there till you left?
Stayed there until 2 years ago, almost now. Yeah.
So interesting. So what would you say your, what would you say your proudest moments were in your time in LA?
My proudest moments?
Yeah. I mean, cause I know it wasn't all.
No. I mean, a lot of it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my first year that I moved out there, I got signed right away to a acting talent company called Vincent Cirincione and Associates. And at the time he was,
that is a mouthful.
Yeah, he's a paisan. He's an Italian.
Yeah.
He was Halle Berry's manager at the time.
Wow.
And he had me come in and he had me audition, and like I signed a contract, and that I was like, oh my God, I've made it.
Yeah.
I've arrived. I'm famous. That's it. You know? And then he started sending me on these huge auditions, and I still had hair at the time, by the way. If you can imagine.
I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what can I find out about Mike that I don't already know beforehand?
He had hair at one time.
First of all, I actually recognized you. I was like, oh, I did see him on, what was that show you were
$1 Million Listing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I never made the connection. You look completely different.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all got to Google Mike. Just go to the Google images, type in Mike Rossi, Bravo.
Yeah, man, I had hair at the time. They were sending me on all these auditions I wasn't ready for. Like sitting in front of huge casting directors. And, I didn't get anything big.
How did
that make me feel?
Yeah.
I think I was frustrated because I think I thought I was better than I was. Mm-hmm. I was kind of, I had that that grandiosity of like, what do you mean?
What percentage of work ethic did you have compared to the, because you got your people in the entertainment that's like, all right, I rest on my laurels of being so great, right? Yeah. And then there's people that work hard. Everybody's got a little bit of both, and some people are just the hard working is just like up here and there, okay, I've got a sense of wealth, where was your scale of like work ethic versus
Back then, I went to acting class and did all that stuff. I wasn't doing everything that I could have been doing. I wasn't studying the business side of it because I thought I already knew. I thought that I knew everything. And then I had a breakup. I was like my first love. I was like 22 or 23 maybe. And we broke up, and she used to always tell me, she's like, you should be singing. You should be on stage singing. But I never listened to her. But then we broke up, and I was like, I'll show her. So myself and who's now my brother-in-law started like playing shows around LA, and I started booking my own shows and started creating shows for venues that didn't have live music. And I got that instant gratification. And I also thought I was kind of like rubbing it in my ex's face, because I'd have shows and I'd invite everyone except for her.
Oh, you showed her.
I showed her big time. Yeah.
I love that is why you got into music.
That's how I got into music.
Dude, you are a grade A alcoholic, and I can say that. I get to say that. And that's amazing.
Yeah, man. It ended up working out for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, you got some talent, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I loved it. And I was thinking, I knew we were probably going to talk about this, and I was thinking about like where I'm now to where I was then too, and like what I really kind of wanted out of it. And I think when I was actively partying and drinking, I really just wanted the accolades. I really just wanted the attention. And I enjoyed the craft too, but really what I loved was when the curtain opened and there was a crowd in front of me. I got off on that essentially. As opposed to like now when I'm like being creative, it's just because I want to be creative, right? There's no there's no intention behind it really, except for the fact that I need to be creative. That's all.
This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admission center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.
I often ask people this, and I'm curious, because we all drink for different reasons. We all cope with, our unhealthy, medicators and what have you, through life for different underlying, causes and conditions, that kind of thing. But, when you look back at that time and you talk about when you were drinking and using what have you, and your motivation behind performing was all the selfish parts that which I get. I mean, like, what entertainer doesn't enjoy that, at least?
Of course.
Yeah. No. What was motivating you back then? Was there pain and fear that was your prime,
Yeah. I mean, what was motivating me to get on stage or to be...
What was motivating you to get on stage? What was motivating you to continue? Because at the time, were you were you drinking? Were you taking in chemicals that were what was it? Was it maintenance stage? Were you high functioning? Were you destroying your relationships and things because of?
Yeah. I mean, I was on stage. I was always messed up. Mm-hmm. And I think I got wrapped up in that's what I thought it was supposed to be. You know what I mean? I thought that if I was in the studio, I had to smoke some weed and drink. If I was on stage, I had to have a few shots before I got on. I had to have a beer on stage with me and cheersing people in the audience. I was really living that persona of this is what rock and roll is. Mm. And this is why people come to see me,
And did you really believe, as you were doing it, were you I believe all of this?
Yeah. This is it. I mean, I remember even thinking, this is the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to perform and I'm going to party. What else is there? What else is there?
If it only worked like that. It kept working.
Yeah, man.
So fast forward, what happened?
Whoa. Oh my gosh. So I started performing at a place in Los Angeles that was really popular. It was called the Sayers Club, and they also had a venue in Las Vegas.
Is that where you and Nikki Leonti were?
Me and Nikki Leonti used to perform. She used to ask me to come and perform at the W with her.
Oh, okay.
At the W Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those were great shows, man. Shout out Nikki.
Yeah.
She's
love
awesome.
her.
Dude, me too. And Ryan too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I met those guys. Sayers Club was different. Sayers Club had a venue in Las Vegas as well. And I got asked to be a performer in Las Vegas. Nice. So then I got my residency in Las Vegas. And we would go down on Friday, Saturday, and come back Sunday every week. And I had a bartending job at the time. I bartended in and out through all the music stuff for the most part. But I made it to Vegas, so I didn't need that job anymore, right?
Yeah.
That's not true.
But you told yourself that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was again, that moment of I've arrived. I'm here.
Uh-huh.
Don't need anything else. Meanwhile, they were paying me $500 a week, and the paychecks were always late. And I, again, never had any money, and the money I did have
I was going to say, that's not enough to live off of without bad habits that cost money.
No, gambling. I mean, you're walking through the casino. Everything's free. You're performing there. You don't have to pay for booze, but you're going to drink, and you're going to go spend your money at the tables. And you're going to go to after parties and, be the rock star, if you will. So that was a wild time. And then I guess if we fast forward a little bit, I started making money solely off music. That's all I was doing. And was dating this girl. We were together for about a year, and then she became a pretty big artist's manager. Goes by the name of Seal.
What?
Seal. Kiss from a Rose, right?
Yeah.
So they were going on this big tour, and she hired me on that tour. So traveling the world with Seal, and we got there. We got to, where was it? Rehearsals. Rehearsals were in Scunthorpe, England.
Oh yeah, Scunthorpe.
You been there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like this weird industrial town where they had this big like arena where we did all the rehearsals for the tour, right? And Seal came in a few days after we already set up and everything, big tour. And he saw me, and he knew me because he knew I was the girl's boyfriend, right? And he was not happy that I was there. I think he thought maybe that I was going to take away from his manager's duties, which is totally fair now that I look at it, right?
He didn't know she had hired you?
He didn't know she hired me.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was super awkward.
You and Seal had beef.
Me and Seal had beef. I had to do a 4-step on Seal. My first sponsor was like, Seal? I was like, yeah, dude, Seal.
That's pretty great.
Oh, dude, it was awesome now that I look back at it all.
Yeah.
But
did you use his last name or just Seal?
just Seal. I don't know his last name.
Does anybody know his last name?
Anyone? Seal's
Seal?
last name?
Anybody know Seal's last name?
Is Seal his real name?
Probably not.
Probably not. I don't know. His name's probably like Kevin or something.
No,
I don't know.
Nobody in the house knows
Yeah.
Seal's last name.
Tara, can you get a Seal's last name?
We're gonna find out before the end of this episode.
Yeah.
What Seal's last name
Yeah,
is.
it's very
what
important.
What is real
With
name?
the real Seal.
All
The-
my friends are looking at me like, who's Seal?
Oh, Kiss from a Rose.
gosh. Oh, everyone in the studio right now is younger than Mike and I.
Yeah. So
Love you guys. All right, so you and Seal didn't get along. What happened?
well, he didn't care about me. He just, he didn't really talk to me any after that.
Okay.
But what happened was, I think what happened was, and I don't want to speak for her, but she was in fear of losing her job
Sure.
at that point. So she cut me off. She wouldn't talk to me. Eventually, she told me she wasn't in love with me anymore. Did we get it?
I'm not trying it. I think maybe it's Henry, but there's a few.
Oh, his first name's Henry, isn't it?
Oh. Okay, well, there's a number of names, and I'm just going to read all of them the way they look to me, and I'm a horrible speller. Here,
Probably going to be the best look for you.
it's okay. I'm not scared. Seal, Henry, Olusegun, Alumide, Adiola, Samuel.
There it is.
Yeah.
Now we all know.
Now we know why Seal just goes by Seal, because it's a lot easier to say
It's
than
a lot easier to say.
that full name.
Henry's kind of cool though.
Henry's cool too, but I mean, there's a lot of Henrys. There's only one Seal.
There's only one Seal.
Yeah. So she cut you off.
She cut me off on that tour, and I didn't have any tools to deal with that. So what do we do when we don't have any tools to deal with emotions?
We use our other tools.
Yeah, that Jameson bottle, baby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and there's always one on the bus, right? So
Yep.
a lot of that happened on that tour, and a lot of it was blurry, and I cried a lot. It was very embarrassing, the way I behaved and the way I dealt with that whole thing.
So you stayed working on the tour.
I stayed working on the tour.
But the relationship ended.
Yeah, I stayed working on the tour.
Awkward.
Oh, dude, it was brutal.
Oh man.
It was brutal. I've never felt so completely alone
Yeah.
in my life. Than on that tour. And it's not that like the crew was great. Everybody was cool.
Sure.
Like, but I just crawled into this like weird. I never experienced anything like that before.
Did you make it through the end of the tour without
I made it
getting
through the
fired?
end of the tour. Yeah, I didn't get fired. I should have.
Wow.
I should have just let. Like, if I look back on it now, like if that were me now, I'd be like, I'm leaving.
Right. Yeah.
But I didn't. I couldn't.
Yeah. Too much pride on the line.
Too much pride, and also just codependency, and just not just the decision-making skills, not there. Not anywhere to be found. So got back from the tour. Me and her had a place together, in a car together. We had a life, right? That she paid for, right? And she got back, and then I left the dramatic way, like, I'm leaving, with all my shit still there. I'm fucking leaving. I left and did it just like that. And I went to a buddy's house and partied with him. And then eventually probably, crawled my way back in to our apartment. And then what happened, my sister called me and she said, hey, why don't you come over for dinner? We lived right down the street from each other. And I was like, sweet. So I just walked over to her house and opened the door, and right there is my best friend I was telling you about. His name's Anderson. And Anderson, I saw him and I knew he had a year sober. So I'll rewind for a second. He lived with me in LA.
Okay.
He moved back to North Carolina to get better.
Okay.
But he was visiting with his girlfriend, and they surprised me. And I saw him, and everybody had their cameras out, like, oh my God. And I just started crying. And I hugged him really hard. And everybody kind of slowly put their phones away. Like, what is going on? And I think in that moment, I just knew, and we went to dinner, and I got offered drinks, and I didn't take any. And then Anderson and I went for a long walk. I'll never forget, down Fairfax Boulevard by the Grove. It's called. It's an outdoor mall in LA. And we're just talking, and he just kind of casually was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna go to some AA meetings in LA because I've never got to go to one." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man." I was like, "Why don't I come with you and support you in that? I'd love to support you."
Support system. Yeah.
That next morning, we woke up he picked me up at 6:30 in the morning. I had never been up I hadn't been up that early since I couldn't remember. I slept till 1 or 2 every day, right? Right. Picked me up. We went to this coffee shop, and in the back there was a little theater. There was a bunch of chairs, and we sat down, and he was like, "Hey man, look, you don't have to say you're an alcoholic. You don't have to say anything. Just say you're here to visit." So that's what I did. And there's a bunch of people in the morning. They're laughing and having the time of their lives at 7 a.m. And I was like, these people are fucking weird. But I sat through it, and he was like, I think I'm going to go to that one again tomorrow. And I was like, oh, dude, I'll come with you. And the next day, I raised my hand and identified as an alcoholic. And that was April 16, 2018. I haven't had a drink or a drug since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
It's wild.
Took me a little longer past my first meeting to actually identify.
Yeah.
Takes what it takes.
It takes what it takes, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was I knew that I wanted to quit. We all tried, right? I would stop for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And I'd be like, this is the version of myself that I like the best. Like, I wake up a little bit earlier, I'm going to the gym, I'm present. But then all of a sudden I'd be like, I'll have a drink, right? And then I go on a crazy bender and party. Right. So I just didn't know how. And I just wanted to know how. And
when you were, before you got sober, was it bender, sober up, or was there a consistent, did you have a base level that you were regularly and then there benders thrown in there?
It wasn't that consistent.
Okay.
To be honest, it was when I was performing and out, yes. But then some nights, I wouldn't do anything. Maybe I'd smoke a little or something. What got really bad was towards the end, every time I'd drink, I'd start to do some other stuff, some other chemical stuff. And then that kind of took a life of its own for a little while.
What were some of the consequences that stick out to you that, the life that you were living, that either then or you look back now and they were kind of red flags that somehow you knew? Because we all have those, like subconsciously or not, that are kind of motivating us in a way to say, I'm not okay. I'm not okay.
Yeah, I think for me, dude, I got so lucky. Like I never went to jail. I never got a DUI.
What?
I used to drink and drive all the time. All the time.
That's crazy. LA cops love to pull you over just for like nothing.
Dude, I got so lucky. It's all I can wrap it up to be is that God was like, this is not the way I want you to go. Mm. Other than that, I have no idea. I should have gotten caught many times. And I could have hurt a lot of people too. I think the consequences were, I wasn't a present brother. I wasn't a present son. I wasn't a man of my word. I didn't know how to be. I didn't know that it was important that if you say something, then you do it. Like I didn't think that was.
Ooh, I can relate to that.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
The way I treated girls, was terrible. I think the consequences all came back on me, because every time I did something wrong, I would try to cover it up with more. And I was like killing myself, dude.
Sure.
Not to mention all the amends that I had to make and relationships that I ruined. And there's probably some relationships out there still that I probably don't remember. That I probably owe an amends to.
Same. Yeah, I had to just do some living amends to some unknowns that, Yep.
Yeah, we just try to, not treat people how we used to treat them. Right?
Yeah.
I pretty much treated everybody the same way. So,
what did you get? When you got sober, how did your life change?
Oh, man. It happened for me pretty fast. Like I got sober. Me and that girl from the SEAL show decided to split. I moved in with a buddy at the time, and I immediately got a job as a production manager for a Netflix TV show in New York. So I was off to New York for like a month and made
Nice.
like a good chunk of change, which in turn got me to be able to get my own place, which was a studio apartment, but it was mine and I loved it.
Yeah.
And that was like early sobriety. And I think from that happening, not to mention the serenity that I got. I remember this. I remember hearing joyous, happy, free. And I was like, that sounds like what I want, right? So I'd go to a meeting at 7 a.m. and then I didn't have a car, so I'd walk to a CrossFit gym. And every morning that we did that, we'd be on the rowers, and every morning I'd just be like, joyous, happy, free, joyous, happy, free, joyous, happy, free. And just, that was like my mantra.
Yeah.
And I did the steps, like I got right into it. I took suggestions. I just wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
I just wanted that peace, that anxiety was killing me, man.
Did it come?
Yeah. Yeah, it came. It's still here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still here. It's been the best experience of my life.
Mm. What are some of the hardest struggles that you faced, that you didn't expect in sobriety that you've had to overcome?
I think, breakups,
Yeah.
and losing people, that are like us, that don't get it. I was just at a guy's funeral.
Yeah.
Having to, when life is coming at you as it does, having to take that in and sit with all that stuff and sit with it, right? And just be like, all right, well, this is the feeling right now, and there's nothing I can do about it, right? I think that's still difficult for me sometimes in trying to manage what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it and all these things, as opposed to just feeling it.
It's not easy.
No.
But it's worth it.
100%.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you have for the people that are listening or watching this episode have identified with any part of your story? What encouragement would you like to give them?
Just do it. Like if you're thinking about it, you probably should do it.
Yeah.
And do it fearlessly. Like when you're out there and you're drinking and partying and drugging and doing all that stuff, you're pretty fearless. If you can apply that same fearlessness to your recovery, and just jump in with both feet, like head first even, that would be my greatest advice. And take suggestions from people that have more time than you, because they're doing something right.
Mike, that's really good. Apply that same fearlessness that we had in addiction to sobriety.
Yeah. Because
I can't tell you how much I let fear rule my decision making in sobriety.
Yeah.
That's a nugget of truth I'm going to take with me. That's good. It's really true. On a lighter note, before we wrap up, I want to talk a little bit about your $1 million listing days.
Yeah, man.
We can't just skip over
Let's talk about it.
Okay,
dude.
so what years was that?
Oh my God. Dude, I don't even remember the years. I can tell you what, I was an assistant to Josh and Matt Altman. They're brothers who are real estate agents, and we were buddies. And they used to hire me to come watch their houses or even sit at a house. I got stories about that for days too. I can tell you about Penelope Cruz as part of one story.
Wait, are we going to tell it now or later?
We can do, that's up to you.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. So Josh and Matt, Josh started becoming this, and he still is, this really successful real estate agent. So he got offered this show, and he had never been on TV or anything, and he felt like he kind of needed a little sidekick. So he asked me to do it. And I was like, dude, absolutely. So we did the Josh and Mikey show on Bravo, and I would just come in and just be silly. And they kind of let me just go and improvise, which was a lot of fun. But I think I always go by when I had hair. So I was probably 24 when I started that show. And I think I did 5 seasons. And then I just did a couple seasons right before I left LA too we did some YouTube stuff, but we had a good time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good time.
What's your favorite part about doing the show?
Well, at that time, when I was still drinking, it was about being famous. That's what I wanted. But fast forward and I got sober, it was more about the experience that Josh and I had and the chemistry we had and how we talk shit and have fun. And these houses that he's selling are insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
That's why people love the show.
Yeah. And all that stuff, those are all his houses. There was some made up stuff, between.
On reality TV?
Sorry, guys. Reality TV isn't real. But the houses that he sold were real. And the way he sells and how successful he is real. But all the drama and stuff is not real. No, sorry.
Okay. How many times is the most that you ever had to redo a scene?
Probably 7 or 8 times.
Really?
Oh yeah. Because we'd come in and we start cracking up,
right?
And nothing. It's not like we had a script. It was all just improvised.
Yeah.
So we would think about the scene before because we want to make it funny, and then we'd say something and be like, no, cut that, because that's not how Josh wanted to be portrayed. Or whatever. So man, we do it as many times until we felt good about it.
Yeah, I love to ask people that have been on reality TV that question.
Oh yeah.
The most I've ever gotten, the highest number was from a housewife. She told me 11 times. I was like, what?
Yeah, that's a lot.
And that's when production cuts it, because they don't like. They're like, no, go back outside and come in. And let's just do it again, because they want to see how you're going to react a little bit differently.
Yeah, yeah. They want you to, they want you to react as best, like as real as you possibly can. But like.
With some drama.
Yeah, like you're walking into a house and they're filming you. It's not like they ask you to redo it.
Yeah.
Got to get different angles. You got to get the B side.
Of course.
So, yeah.
All right. If you had to, so that's a number of years of being in the Bravo family.
Yeah.
All right. If you had to be picked up from the airport by, and you have to take the brothers out of it, any of the other Bravo stars cast.
Josh Flagg.
He's who you'd want to pick you up from the airport?
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to go on vacation with 5 Bravo celebrities, which 5? And it can't be the brothers or Josh Flagg.
Dude, I feel like that's the only people I know on Bravo.
Wow.
I never watched.
What?
I never watched.
You're the first person from Bravo to ever admit that to me.
Yeah, I never watched.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. That's what I hear.
What about the host, Andy?
Yeah. He's pretty fun.
He seems like a nice guy.
I mean, I say that like we're friends.
Yeah.
I think he's probably a fun guy.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Right?
If this ever happens, you can take me, Andy, Josh, and the brothers. We'll all go.
And Flagg.
Yeah.
That's a plan, dude.
Sounds good.
Yeah. That'll never happen, but it's more likely for me and you to just probably hang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Awesome. This has been a great episode.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
This is great. I'm so glad that you're here in Nashville. You followed your heart. You're healthy. We're in each other's lives.
Yeah, me too.
I'm so glad for your story. So thanks for letting us share it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Happy to.
With that, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Rooted Recovery Stories. And I'll remind you and everyone listening, watching, however you're tuning in, that it's never too late to start loving yourself, and you're only ever one decision away from a completely different life.
This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admission center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.